Just past noon Eastern time. Keep an eye on the chat. Please continue to say hello as you come in. My name is Danny Rubin, and I'm thrilled to have you here for our next installment in our Dream Job webinar series. If you've been here before, you know we love to interview high quality professionals across popular in-demand fields to talk about what people do in their jobs every day and the importance of communication skills, professional development skills, etiquette, maybe talk some ethics too a little bit with our guest Daniel today, doing things the right way and using that to build meaningful relationships with our customers. So we're thrilled to have Daniel Clayburn here from Exact Plumbing in the Dallas Metro in Texas. Thank you, Daniel. We'll bring you in just a moment. We have Alexis here from the Rubin team, our director of instruction. Many of you have seen her before. She'll be in the chat answering any questions. You can turn off your camera now, Alexis. Thank you. And we have Laura Crespo here providing sign language support. Thank you, Laura. As always, we have a few more people in the chat. Lori Epic here from Charlottesville. By the way, Lori, I was just in Charlottesville last weekend. Had a lovely time. Morgan here from FVCC, Maple Park, Illinois. Tammy, hi there, Tammy, Richlands, North Carolina. Mrs. Boykin, CTE class, Sampson Middle School in Clinton, North Carolina. So checking in from all points today. One thing I'd like to share with the group before we get started, let me pull that up, is we are running, hopefully you've seen our emails, our annual national contest called America's Next Great Intern. How many of you are aware of that contest? Any hands up, any Zoom hands for that? We fielded finalists from across the country, students showcasing their employability skills, their email skills, their research skills, their ethical decision making. And they submitted to us as part of a national contest. We had hundreds of applicants, and we chose 13 national finalists. And those finalists are now published on our company website. And if you visit the link I put in the chat, you'll see all of our finalists listed out with samples of what they submitted to us. And we'd love for you to take a minute and scroll through and choose your favorite. We've had almost 10,000 votes already. The voting runs through Friday, April 4th. So please vote. You don't have to tell us who you are, no contact information. You just vote and that's it. And we'd love to have you participate and help choose America's Next Great Intern. The coolest part, and I don't know, Daniel, if you're a sports guy, but the winner of this contest will win a one-on-one virtual meeting with an executive from the NBA for the chance to get up close with the NBA and possibly get a foot in the door for future internships. So it's a very cool contest, and we were thrilled with our finalists. So check out rubineducation.com/vote and choose your favorite. And with that, we will turn to our conversation today. So Daniel, thank you for taking time out of your day, right in the middle of your day on a Wednesday. We appreciate that. I know you're busy and working, but
Thanks for
start
having
off,
me.
absolutely. Start off by giving us your quick background and your experience in the plumbing field.
Well, my name is Daniel Clayburn. I'm owner and operator of Exact Plumbing. Like you said, I started May of 2010 after I got out of fire academy school. I wanted to be a firefighter, couldn't find a job, so I hadn't needed a job, had to survive. And so picked up a summer job just working for like $9.50, busting walls and throwing trash away. And at the end of the summer, they asked if I wanted to stay, and 15 years later, here I am. Worked for the same company for 13 years. I did all commercial stuff, never really did any residential. It was all commercial, big, small. I worked on VFW Airport. I worked on DFW Airport. I worked on hospitals. I've worked on casinos. I've worked on hotels, Waffle Houses, Chili's. I've worked on everything commercial, small and big that I can really think of. Lots of schools. Um, Now, when I started my business, that's when I first went to residential, and that's where really you start finding out that um, like how you present yourself, how you carry yourself, and just the overall vision that everybody sees and how you talk to people and just being honest really brings in people want you to work for them if you do that. Obviously, that's the same thing whenever you're working for contractors on big jobs, but um, and that's really what helped me excel in my career. I went from busting trash and throwing trash away to a department to project manager and department manager, over $500,000 jobs and less, ran up to like 17 jobs at one time. So really, I think that's what really drug it up. So, I mean, that's the sum up of my career. I've been in business for 2 years by myself. I've done small commercial and residential remodels, and service is what we kind of work on now. Really pushing the service because that's just really where we thrive at, just because of our communication skills and how we present ourselves. So, I mean,
Thank
that might have
you.
been longer than a minute. Sorry.
No, no, that's perfect. You said so many good things that I want to unpack in our conversation. And as we get started, by the way, Joseph Coleman and his class from Rappahannock Community College, welcome too. I want to now encourage the teachers and students, please go to the Q&A along the bottom of Zoom. And I want you to enter your questions for Daniel. Put your name and your school and your question, and we'll pick through them as we go. Daniel, my first question is, and there's a lot of good things you said, and I want to get to these little nuggets, but why did you decide after all this time in commercial plumbing to switch to residential?
Whenever you start a business here in Texas, we're really booming as far as just commercial builds. There's a lot of data centers going up just because of the land we have. There's a lot of just commercial is just really thriving. So, with that being said, every 30-year-old plumber with a master's license is going after those kinds of jobs. So, whenever I started, that's kind of what I was running after. Sure enough, whenever you're by yourself and you're doing it yourself, you kind of are on the lower end of price range. So
Yep.
whenever I don't have the overhead, my profit doesn't need to be as much because I'm paying myself out of it. So the profit is only what the company makes. It's not like I don't get all the profit. It's just what that makes. I pay myself a certain rate wage, and that's based off of what my needs are at the time. Or not the time at for sustaining my lifestyle. So with that being said, I was able to, with the moment I started my job when I was working for the other company, I mean, started my business and I was working for the other company, I started bidding jobs, landed a $30,000 one, and that was actually commercial. Well, from there, everybody started realizing that Daniel, the guy who's been in this area for since he was born, um, has his own plumbing company. So I started getting a lot of service calls and a lot of residentials, people that were building houses and so on. You just went through my website. There's some housing rebuilds on that, a lot of remodels on those pictures and stuff. Probably need to update that, but that's kind of where it just transitioned. There's like that's where the transition was. Like it just everybody's going towards the commercial field, and if you get into the bigger jobs, the that are well bigger small ones like $100,000, $70,000, $150,000 jobs, you kind of need more people because you're going to be trying to keep up with all the other trades. If you get behind, you're the problem. So you try to stay on those lower ends. It's just hard to get them because you're competing against a lot of other people that are just like yourself. So to fill the time in, I was started residential, and the residential just I was just really good at it. I mean, at the end of the day, the biggest thing at the end of the day, the biggest thing was I was honest with people and I told them everything that was going on so that they had the full picture. And whenever you have the full picture and I can tell you why something's not going on, that I realized that is just what people was lacking. Like I don't understand. It's just a toilet. Why is it not flushing? Well, you have a whole compartment. You have this. You got to take it apart. You got to put it all back together, so on. And like it sounds like it's very minute, but the like really explaining everything to everybody and just being honest and then having your prices on a fair wage is just it goes a long way. So I was just really good at that because of how I carry myself and how I expect myself to be. and it just took off from there. So that's where I was like, well, for now, until we get bigger, let's put commercial on the back burner. Stuck with the service calls, and it's kept us alive this far. So here we
Well,
are.
I think it's, you're saying a lot of good stuff because not just about plumbing, but about building a business and you go where, you feel momentum, you go where the wind's kind of pushing you. You don't question that. You kind of let it, you follow it. And so that's what you've done. I want to, again, please, teachers and students, please start putting any of your questions in the Q&A and we'll ask those. Let's start at the beginning, Daniel, back to 2010. And as you gained skills, what kinds of certifications? You said a master's license. Like for someone to go as a professional plumber, what do you need to obtain? And what does that look like? Is it a certain number of hours? Is there a class? Is there a license? What do you have to do?
So, great question. So let's start off. Everything in every state is different. Some states around us kind of adopted Texas is the how the licensing system works, but for the most part, it's pretty consistent. It's just how they regulate it and so on. For instance, we have Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners is the name of our people who carry and control and maintain and everything on our license. Um, TDL and R runs literally everything else that has to do with contractors, electrical, sewage plants, HVACs, TDL and R runs all that, but plumbers are really in control of the health of the nation. So Texas decided to step away from TDL and R years ago, take it on. So there. So that's a real quick answer to, or a real quick explanation of what that means. Now, you can technically become an actual considered plumber when they're in with 2 years worth of work that a master has to sign off on. So for instance, but you have to, that's with a apprentice card. So if Danny, you come and work for me and you work 2 years for me, I told you to get your license on day one, you never got your apprentice license. Okay, you're a plumber's apprentice. You're not an apprentice plumber, right? The plumber being at the end. So think about that. We're going to come back to it. Plumber's apprentice. You're not a plumber. You're an apprentice for a plumber. You never got that license. You work 2 years. You come to me with the paper, say, hey, can you sign off on this? I sign off on it. I send it to the state. State says this guy don't have a apprentice license. It doesn't matter. So you have to have that apprentice license to be able to work, touch pipe, anything across the board. And the reason they made that law is so that that doesn't happen because it happened a lot in 2012 whenever these rules were changed. So, um, so you have to have your apprentice license first. You have that for 2 years. After 2 years, um, also they've in 2017 they added a state that you can actually go to a school and for a certain period of time, and it basically doubles hours, so you can do it in a year. But it's a basic because it's focused on just plumbing, so you can turn those 2 years into a year if you pay for the school and you go to the school. But why would you do that whenever you can go work for 2 years and get money and
You can go
not
work.
have to pay? Yeah, not give somebody your money, they give it to you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So and so after you get that, you now jumping off of that, that is called a tradesman plumber. Okay, plumber at the end, right? You are considered a actual plumber. You have anything residential you can do, you can run. You can do 15 houses on one street and you're full. You can do anything that a journeyman can do. Journeyman is 4 years. If you step foot as a tradesman on a commercial job, you cannot touch anything without a supervision of a journeyman. So that's the biggest difference between those two. Um, there's a couple small
Okay.
ones, but it really doesn't matter. Those are so 4 years is a journeyman, and you can have your apprentice card for 4 years, or you can have your apprentice card for 2 years, get your tradesman and keep it for 2 years, and then get your journeyman. So those are the two biggest things. The time, obviously, 2 years and 4 years, and it's also based off of hours. So 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, multiply it out. comes out to 8,000 hours in 4 years. So, so that journeyman plumber, then after that, you don't have to keep track of hours no more. You do have to maintain your CPE hours every year across the board on that, from tradesmen all the way up. I still have to take them today, or this, not today. Obviously, I'm hanging out with you, but you have to take them consistently, continue taking them CPE hours. But after you get your journeyman and you hold that journeyman card with your CPE hours for 4 years, then you can apply and go take your master's test. All three of those master plumber, all three of those require a test. We used to have to go to Austin, which is 3 hour drives from Dallas. Now we have them all over the place, so they just basically set it up. We go there. There's three parts of the test. 100 question or 80 question written. 26 questions of that is on water heaters, and then you have the shop test. They make sure that you can cut pipe, cast iron, PVC, copper, black iron pipe. You can thread pipe for gas. They do all these shop work, solder, all these things in the shop, and then you have this big dollhouse, and it's literally a dollhouse that's like 8 foot wide, 6 foot tall, and 8 foot deep that they just raise up, and you do the underground plumbing with their scale. So you have to be able to you have to be pretty good at math. So you like 1 inch is actually like a millimeter on, but it shows an
Like
inch because
scale, like scaled
you have this
down.
special ruler and stuff. And they have straws with fittings. You cut the straw and the straw goes inside the fittings, and you actually plumb this dollhouse based off of the plans that they give you.
Wow.
That was the coolest part of the test.
That sounds
That
really interesting.
Yeah, so that's the tradesman and journeyman test. You have to do
Wow.
yeah, that's a tradesman and journeyman test. If you do the tradesman, the journeyman test is quite less. But the master's test is 175 questions, and it's broken up into sections. Code, sizing, so you have to be able to size gas pipe, water pipe, sewer pipe based off of each how many fixtures there are and what they're required for their output of water and outgoing of water. Um, and then
Okay.
so you do that. It's like 175 questions of different sections of that. So for
Thank
the master.
you. That that was awesome information, and you laid it all out. And you started talking in there about different types of pipe that you work on. I'm on your website. Just tell us some of the services that you provide to homeowners by, rough in, top out. What are some things that you do for people? What are the most common things or the most challenging tasks that you do for your customers?
Oh man. All right, I'm gonna go backwards from what you said. Most challenging is
Yeah.
figuring things out. We have a job I was on the phone with right before I got on this with you. There was a plumber that came in and set a couple fixtures wrong, and we went to set the to and they got fired. We came in to set all the fixtures, and everything inside the wall was set wrong. So now we're trying to figure out, and they have some of the bolts, they have some of the paperwork, they have some of the finished product. Like we don't have everything, so we're trying to figure out what we don't have. Like that's probably the hardest part. There's another one. We got three water heaters in a 3 bedroom house. There's one in there's one in a closet, one in their bedroom. There's one in the closet in the hallway with a bunch of jackets, and then there's one in the garage. And all the sinks, every single sink they have takes at least 5 minutes to get hot water to it. So figuring that problem out next week, whenever we take that on, that's going to be difficult. So
I
that's
wanted to
probably
ask you, just wanted to ask. So it sounds like a little bit of plumbing is like unpacking a mystery a little bit. Like you get into this house, you can't see the pipes. You got to get in and like understand what happened before you got there. What did somebody else do or try to do? So before you can even do the work, you got to like figure out what's going on. It's a little bit
yeah,
of that.
no, Yeah, understanding the how the system is supposed to work, um, and really just putting it all together either on paper, in your head. You use the apple technique that they ask you whenever you go to college, like close your eyes, imagine if you can imagine a apple. Can you imagine like the full three-dimensional picture of an apple in your head in the black space? And most people answers, like my answer is yes, but like a buddy of mine, Brian, his is not yes. He's like, no, I can't do it. I can't make it three-dimensional in my head. Mine is the geometrical shape of it. And therefore he cannot, if I like I just did his tile shower, and he couldn't imagine. We had everything laid out on the walls and stuff, and he just couldn't imagine the whole picture. So we had to like get a program and be able to paint it up for him in a program so he could see it, the whole thing, just because he wasn't able to do it. So if you
I
you
see.
really have to be able to understand everything and use whatever your brain is telling you that you need to use to be able to understand things. Then at that point, it's just common sense. If you don't know, if you got two pipes coming up out of the ground and you don't know which pipe is hot water, turn the hot water on. One of those pipes will get, one of those pipes
It could
eventually
be
will
that
get hot.
simple too.
Yeah.
Once you get there, you got to get there
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, one of them will get hot. If you got two pipes coming up and they're tied together and you don't know which one goes to the sink, cut it apart and blow inside of the pipe, and it'll come out of the sink whenever you're blowing in the right pipe, right? So it's just putting like understanding the system and then pulling all your general knowledge and common sense together is like a
So
big part of just service work.
combination of a lot of training, a lot of hours, and also common sense, which I think let's stay on common sense because you've talked a couple times already about, the importance of communication. You might say, oh yeah, it's common sense, treat customers like you want to be treated, but we know that's not always true. And we know that sometimes people who are doing service calls can be rude, short, snippy, not communicative, don't do what they say they're going to do. Give us an example of taking us through like a customer relationship. How do you demonstrate that you're upfront and transparent and a good communicator? How do you show that?
Um, so first off, like something that I always do that really just sells me as a person is and that's something in itself. You have to sell yourself as a person if you really want a good customer. You can go in and knock out work all day long,
How do you sell yourself as a person? What do you do? How do
right?
you show that?
So just in different ways, like really just bringing out the human in myself and allowing them to see it. So if I'm running late, if I'm running late and I told them I was going to be there at 1, I have a software system that says I have 3 hour window in there. I still give them a call and say, "Hey, look, I'm running late. I ran behind on this one, and then I had to stop and eat lunch, and I didn't. And I'm on my way. I'm going to be there at 2 instead of 1. I apologize." And like that's most of like as long as they get that simple conversation there, that's the start. Now we're inside the house and we get there and like, oh, I thought we were doing a toilet rebuild, not a toilet replacement. I don't have a wax ring. I'm gonna have to run and go get that. It's just being honest with them. And then also whenever if you are doing a sewer clog, right? You can't get your camera. We have cameras to clear sewer clogs. We have cameras, sewer machines, and jetters. Okay, we show up and we can't get our camera down there because it just won't make the turn, right? So we can't see what we can see. We run our sewer machine down there and we don't feel a clog, but and it's running and stuff. And it won't, but it's still not running. So now we ran our jetter. Okay. Each one of those three items, and we finally clear the clog. Okay. Let's just say we do. Each one of those three items costs money. Okay. So we couldn't camera, and we couldn't feel anything with the machine or with our sewer machine, and the sewer machine did not clear the clog, and that cost money. So but then we turned around and ran the jetter, and that cost more money. So instead of adding those two together, we know the jet cleared it, we know that the sewer clog didn't, and we tell them that, and they seen us do it. They seen the work. We've been there for an hour and a half or 2 hours, and then we come back. We're only going to charge you for. I'm only going to charge you for what we know worked, because if we did something that we know didn't work, the human in us should say we don't charge you that.
Ah, see, I really like that. You're honest about it. You charge them for what worked, and I'm sure that your customers appreciate that. They say, "Yeah, thank you very much for only charging me for what, what was the solution." Do you feel like they appreciate that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. I mean, I get calls and compliments all the time on my guys. I've trained them all to do exactly what I'm telling y'all right here, right now. And they're all family, so they all know my expectations, and they've all been on calls with me and seen me work and seen my expectations. You know, if we were on a call the day before that had mud on it, and we're walking into someone's house, we're taking our shoes off, or most of the time we have booties. We put booties on over our boots to make sure we don't we just take care of other people's stuff. We don't set tools on top of finished countertops, right? And if we do, we have a piece of cardboard or something there to protect their countertops. And it might be, and it's the small things that add up that show people that you truly care. And that's what sells you as a person. And
You know,
once you sell yourself, you can sell anything else there is, because that
yeah,
person's going to trust you.
I agree with that. First of all, how many people work for you? What's your team looking
Um,
like today?
So the plumbing crew is me. My dad actually works for me. My youngest brother works for me. My cousin works for me. My mother-in-law works
Oh
for
my
me.
goodness. Boy,
My
you really, it is a family affair. You were serious about that. And
Yep.
that probably is a whole different webinar, learning how to work with family, because I've done that too. And
Yeah.
there's different elements there versus somebody you hired, from outside
Yeah.
of your world. I did want to ask you, we talk a lot in these sessions about using the phone. A lot of students today think that you don't need to speak on the phone anymore. You just have to text people. But you told me that, if you're running late or you have an update, you pick up the phone and you call that customer. So do you think that it's important that students today know that they will still need to speak on the phone when they're out there working?
Yes. So in my line of work, the most of the I deal with a lot of older people, right? I'm not going to uh a 18 or 21-year-old kid's house to do their plumbing, right? And those are the people who are leaning on that side of things, right? Like a text is fine. So I deal with uh let's just say 30 and above. Well, someone who's 30 years old, they've been in the field working for however long they've been working. They're not texting their boss and saying, "Hey boss, I'm running late today." They're not texting their boss saying, "Hey, are we going to send an email today?" They pick up the phone, have a conversation, they make it more personal, and um, at the end of the day, whenever it's a customer, it just shows that you care, and people want to know that the person they have coming to their house, around their dogs, around their kids, around their wife, their material things and stuff. They want to know that that person cares about all the things that they're going to be around. And if you just send a text message, um, it's just not very personal.
I think that's great advice to hear. It just doesn't feel the same as them hearing your voice and you being willing to call them. I am curious though, too, in your line of work, what is your cell phone policy with your team? Like, do you tell your team, like, don't take personal phone calls while you're in someone's home? Like, what's the cell phone rules in your line of work?
So whenever we are inside working, we only take business calls.
Mm.
But let's say, first off, uh, let's start with a time thing, right? So if I'm doing a water heater, I expect my guys to, unless it's in an attic, I expect my guys to pull, replace a water heater in 3 hours. So I give them four in the allotted time slot of the schedule, and then their next job is 4 hours from the time they start. Then we have that 3 hour window. That's where the phone call comes from. So if they swap that out and they're sitting there waiting for the water to heat up to make sure that everything's good, if they want to get on their phone, that's fine. I'm not going to say you have to sit there and stare at a water heater while it's heating up to know if it's heating up. You're not going to know for 30, 45 minutes. Work on, organize your truck if you want to, clean out your truck, whatever. But if you run out of things to do, or your wife who just had a baby
Well,
is
sure.
having a hard day, then call her and talk to her and make her feel a little bit better. That's fine. At the end of the day, as long as we cover what we need to cover in the allotted amount of time and move on, and then whenever it's time to work, we work. I don't really care too much about personal stuff on cell phones, but in front of a customer, if I have two guys there, one guy's underneath the sink and the other guy's leaning against the fridge playing on Facebook, playing or FaceTiming somebody or their girlfriend or something, that's not okay. That makes not just them look bad, but it makes the whole company look bad that it's allowed
Yeah,
to be happening.
that's right.
So it just depends
Okay.
on the situation. I don't really have like everybody knows. I mean, it's just again kind of common sense on
Well,
that.
common sense for you, but not so common anymore. And I think it's important that they students hear you say that you're standing there at the sink next to a customer in their house. You cannot be messing on your phone because a lot of people today wouldn't think that's so bad. They wouldn't understand why that's not okay. And it's important for them to hear you say, as not only as a plumber, but as a business owner with a reputation to maintain in the community, that this we take business calls inside people's homes. And I think that's a great answer. I also wanted to ask you, you mentioned something that caught my attention earlier in our conversation. You said that plumbers oversee the health of the nation. What does that mean?
Okay, so we control everything that goes in and out of the body. Okay, so back in well, I'm not going to throw dates out there because I might be wrong, but so the Flint water system, there was a
Yeah.
problem in
Yeah. Yeah.
Flint, basically because the plumbers that installed the sewage system going out to the man, I wish I had. We should go into my garage. I can draw it on a whiteboard.
It's all
Um,
right. It's all right.
So one pipe was going out, and it was a discharge pipe. That's where all the sewer came out, and where the intake pipe was behind it. So whenever the sewer came out, the intake came in. So it goes out and comes back in. That's where people were getting sick at. There was, and then also, so like, if you go to a restaurant or like if you go to a restaurant, they have to have these things called RPZs, reduced pressure zones. What that does is whenever there's a reduction in pressure, it makes sure that no water goes backwards. So say we are connected to drink a soda machine in a restaurant. Okay, you go into McDonald's or let's not do McDonald's. Let's do Whataburger. We go to
There
Whataburger
you go.
and
Whataburger.
we're filling up some Dr. Pepper, and there's not an RPZ on there. The change in that reduction can back siphon into the water system for the whole building or down the road to the other building. So that RPZ or double check valve or whatever is meant to stop water from having backflow into it. You can get with just that situation, you can have CO2 poisoning, you can get
Wow.
several other things. So we control everything that goes in the body and everything that goes out of the body. Obviously, going out of the body, we don't really need to go
Yep.
too far on. If that's not controlled, not only does it not smell too good, but like we don't want our kids playing in out in our front yard whenever we have a sewage leak, right?
Of course.
So,
No, I
and then
totally go ahead. I'm sorry.
and,
Finish your thought.
and those pipes have to go to a certain location, and once it gets to those certain location, then the sewage plant people take it over and they throw all the bacteria at it, and then they release it back into are storm systems. And then we also have storm systems. We can't separate, that is the control of the plumber. We have to keep sewage and storm systems completely separate as well. So that's really
No, that's
short
great.
thing. Health of nations, also health of the nation, also types of pipe. We can't use
Right,
lead based
right,
pipe on
right.
stuff. So we can go a little bit deeper, but I know that I'm talk too much. So
No, this is great. I mean, I love that perspective. We don't think about plumbing in that way, like it's saving lives and it's keeping us healthy. It's an an aspect of this that we don't think about happening every day around us. I do want to wrap up with you on one final question. There's a huge skills gap today. There's a lot more jobs to fill than people who have the skills, plumbing and other professions too. Why are you glad that you work in this field, and why would you encourage others, students, to follow you in this path? Why do we need more plumbers, and why is the job meaningful?
I mean, I can sit here and throw numbers at you all day long. For instance, our on the answer to that question. There's and but at the end of the day, um, if like the biggest thing is making, if you're going to go into this profession, your heart has to be in it. You have to want to do it. And I think that's where our numbers are affected. Not a whole lot of people want to show up to someone's house and dig a 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot hole and fix a water pipe and go to the next one and do the same thing. So to wake up every morning and do that, you have to do it. What I just really enjoy it. My maybe not digging exactly, but just waking up and knowing that I get to go and help somebody's day be better. And not not only that, but I mean, and since I started my business, this has really gotten a little bit deeper. But overall, I just really enjoy having doing a job and completing it, stepping back and seeing that it's working, figuring things out, problem solving,
Respect that.
and just doing jobs for people. If you don't have that and the want to actually work with somebody, if you're somebody that just don't that says, "Hey, I'm not a people person," this ain't the job you want to be in. There's a lot of people and there's a lot of people that just I had a kid start yesterday that didn't make it all day long. He had his mom come and pick him up. And it was a really easy day. And his reason for leaving is because he was carrying the ladder wrong and was about to walk into a glass door. And the guy who he was working with uh, hollered at him and said, "Hey, stop." And that upset him. So if you cannot be soft in any type of construction, especially if you're a plumber. A lot of people like you're going to be looked at as the know all, be all, fix all. Um, on every plumbing job I've ever had, everybody's brought all their problems to me, and we fixed it up. So
I see.
I hope that answers without trying
That's
to throw
great.
numbers around. I
No, that's
mean,
great.
if you want to talk numbers, we can talk that, but that's going to get pretty thick as far as
No,
why
that's
we are
great.
short on it. But at the end of the day, I think that is the girth. I think that's the meat and potatoes of why we are short on it. Also, there's a lot of people don't want to work for someone else whenever their goal is like, "Oh, I'm gonna be a plumber and I'm just gonna own my own business." And what that does, and well, I heard a welder say it one time the best is it just drags the profession down. So if one guy's getting paid $150 an hour to do welding, and then another guy that's just as good comes over and says, "Oh, I'll do it for 75," just so he can get his truck payment paid, then it kind of drags it down, and that's kind of what starts to happen whenever you have a lot of a lot of chiefs. And
Yeah, I understand. I understand. Well, that's a great answer, and I want to thank you for all the good information here. Really got real deep into the industry, the job, talked about it from lots of angles. So, Daniel, thank you, and best of luck as you continue to grow your business. I wish you nothing but the best. I know it's hard, and I know you're brave for going out on your own and starting your own thing. So, best of luck to you. And thank you,
you,
Laura, for your time. I hope you'll all join us on April 9th. We're talking to a dietitian who works in Connecticut, helping people eat better and be more nutritious. So join us 1 p.m. Eastern. You'll see that come out soon. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week, a great spring break if it's coming up for you. Daniel, thanks again. All the best.
you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day.